How does the Denver Broncos offensive line shake out in comparison with the rest of the NFL? Luz Cataglia of NFL Spin Zone recently ranked all 32 NFL offensive lines, and spoiler alert, the Denver Broncos ranked pretty high. They ranked as the 7th best offensive line in the NFL. The Broncos' offensive line allowed a ton of sacks in 2023 if you weren't paying attention. Most of those sacks were the fault of Russell Wilson, who always holds on to the ball for too long. Denver's offensive line is 4 starters strong and is one of the best in the NFL, with Garett Bolles at left tackle, Ben Powers at left guard, Alex Forsyth is the projected starting center, Quinn Meinerz, of course, at right guard, and Mike McGlinchey at right tackle. There's a common narrative out there about the Denver Broncos offensive line not being as good as it really is because of the amount of sacks that Russell Wilson and Jarrett Stidham took last year. Denver Broncos quarterbacks were sacked 52 times last season. But if we look at Pro Football Focus's offensive line grades, only 16 of those sacks were the fault of the offensive line. The rest of those sacks were the fault of the quarterback. 69% of sacks taken by Denver Broncos quarterbacks last year, Russell Wilson and Jarrett Stidham, were the fault of the quarterback. If we look here, the offensive lineman for the Broncos who was credited for the most sacks as well as pressures was Mike McGlinchey. There's not really much of a surprise there. Mike McGlinchey's pass blocking is not the best in the world. It's his run blocking that got him paid by the Denver Broncos and what he's known for in the NFL as his greatest strength. 49 pressures, 35 hurries. That's not exactly great by any stretch of the imagination, along with those 6 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. But Mike McGlinchey, over the end of the season especially, got better, and he was performing at the level of a starting caliber tackle. Did the Denver Broncos still overpay for him in free agency? Absolutely they did. But Mike McGlinchey, although he's been the weak link on the offensive line, he's not an all-out disaster. Ben Powers' pass protection has also ranked a little bit low, but remember, he's an interior offensive lineman playing next to Garett Bolles, who had the highest pass blocking grade for the Denver Broncos last year. So that's going to be really, really big. Lloyd Cushenberry is going to be missed on that offensive line just because what he brought from the mental acumen perspective at the center position. He was able to handle the protection sets and identify the Mike linebacker, and he just played really, really well last year. He only allowed 1 sack and 14 pressures, the lowest amongst the Broncos offensive line last year. So he is sorely going to be missed. Alex Forsyth is going to have big shoes to fill. The fact that he was Bo Nix's college center at Oregon is going to help matters, but he does still have to step into a very large role being the Denver Broncos starting center. Quinn Meinerz, absolute stud last year. He did allow 23 pressures, so you maybe would want that to be just a tick lower, but that's still not bad overall. Mike McGlinchey led the Broncos with penalties last year with 9, a lot of them coming pre-snap, but I will also say this, and I'm really not trying to pile more on Russell Wilson here, but a lot of those false starts from Denver Broncos offensive line were because Russell Wilson didn't know the cadence, and he tried to change the cadence at the line of scrimmage. That was something Sean Payton complained about in press conferences. That's why the Denver Broncos had to, quote, streamline their cadence, according to Sean Payton, and basically not mix up their cadence as much. As the end of the year got on and the Broncos weren't mixing up their cadence, we saw less and less of these pre-snap penalties. I anticipate if the quarterback that is playing for the Denver Broncos, be it Jarrett Stidham, Zach Wilson, or Bo Nix, has the cadence mastered, then we will see less and less of these false start pre-snap penalties that just should not happen whatsoever. The Denver Broncos offensive line is absolutely a top unit in the NFL, even if there are question marks at the center position and some question marks at the right tackle position. Garett Bolles, despite what the fan narrative is out there, is one of the best offensive tackles in the league right now, and he played like one of the best offensive tackles in the league last year. Lloyd Cushenberry is going to be missed on that offensive line, but if Alex Forsyth can step into that role at center, we're going to be fine there. Our two guard positions are more than solid with Ben Powers and Quinn Meinerz, of course, one of the best guards in the league. And then Mike McGlinchey, I feel like, has gotten way more crap than he deserves. Yes, he was overpaid. Yes, the Denver Broncos should have drafted and developed a right tackle years ago and not have to dip into the free agency well to get Mike McGlinchey. I totally understand all those arguments. But at the end of the day, Mike McGlinchey is the best right tackle that the Denver Broncos have had since Orlando Franklin in 2014. That is saying a lot. So Mike McGlinchey is at least starting caliber. The Denver Broncos offensive line is one of the greatest strengths on the team, and it's really going to help out Bo Nix as he transitions to becoming the Denver Broncos starting quarterback. All right, Broncos country, I am curious. Oh, actually, let me go ahead and bring in and show you what the rest of the offensive line rankings were ahead of the Broncos, just in case you guys were curious. Bernard Ryman, Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, Braden Smith of the Indianapolis Colts were 6. The New York Jets, who really improved their offensive line this year, trying to get better around Aaron Rodgers, ranked 5. Cleveland Browns 4, Atlanta Falcons 3, Philadelphia Eagles 2, and Detroit Lions as the top-ranked offensive line in the game. All of those check out for me. All right, Broncos country, please be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe to the channel, and let me know, where would you rank the Denver Broncos offensive line across the rest of the NFL, and what are your biggest concerns about the offensive line heading into the 2024 season? All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.